I call the Honourable Member Raymond Ho.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Sorry? Well, why not stand up and take a call? Well, good call. Why not? Well, Mr. Goldsmith is the chairman of the FEC, as I understand. I'm very looking forward to his contribution. Take a call. Okay, I'll do it quickly. And
Order.
Let's look forward to the contribution from the chair of the FEC. Now, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity to contribute. This bill has lingered on the order paper for a very long time, and I believe my learned colleague will correct me if I got it wrong. I believe this bill is as a result of what has been known for quite a while as a telephone book bill, and Labour supports this bill, but with some reservations. This bill, as my colleague in his earlier contribution said, is largely uncontroversial, apart from the foreign superannuation changes, and I'll come to that point later on. Of course, changes are needed, and these proposals have the great merit of simplicity and should eliminate the uncertainty of treatment, which has been a problem since first identified in 2006. Now, the principal issue which was unclear was whether foreign superannuation schemes were subject to the Foreign Investment Fund, the so-called FIF regime, and what was the tax treatment on transfer. The legislation largely follows the proposals set out in the Inland Revenue Issues paper released in July last year, but also incorporates some of the submissions made in respect of the issues paper. The new rules will take effect from the 1st of April 2015, although there are some retrospective clauses in this bill, and we will come back to that SOP later on at some later stage of this committee of the full House stage. Now, under the proposed legislation, interests in non-Australian foreign superannuation schemes will no longer be taxed on an accrual basis under the Foreign Investment Fund regime, or as if a transfer represents a distribution from a company or a trust. Now, the problems with the foreign superannuation changes, the first issue, Mr. Chair, is that it will apply to all transfers, even those made into a locked-in scheme, such as a Kiwi Saver fund. In this case, it's proposed to allow the taxpayer to withdraw an amount up to the value of the tax due from their Kiwi Saver scheme. This sounds good, but ignores the fact that where the transfer is made from a UK pension fund, withdrawing funds would possibly either invalidate the transfer or trigger a 55% tax charge in the United Kingdom. How can a person, probably Mr. Goldsmith can answer that question in his contribution, how can a person who makes a transfer but cannot access the transferred funds until a later date be said to have somehow derived income?
Part one.
So back to part one, the other issue relates to the treatment of transfers made prior to the commencement of the new rules. Take a call, Mr. Goldsmith. But one thing I believe Mr. Goldsmith will agree with me and agree with other members is that this bill, as it is presented in the current form, represents a huge mismanagement. So that's the reason, Mr. Chair, some experts...
I call the Honourable Member Paul Goldsmith.